Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner. Today's video will be a deck profile, and it'll be on one I know a lot of you have been wanting to see, and that would be Gem Knights. That's right. We're going to be talking about these guys today. I'm going to say though it's not the build that I've been using on DN for the last while. That's an OCG build that runs Lazuli, Love of All Chains, Zirconia. It's basically a build made up of the cards that are legal right now, because I really wanted to play around with this with my friends, and I did, and I'm quite happy with how it's looking so far. Changes that I would make, I'm not quite sure yet. It depends on what happens with the ban list, because it does run a couple cards that might be hit in some manner. And as for what Gem Knights are, they're basically Konami's second attempt at making a fusion-based archetype. There are elemental heroes, but that didn't pan out the way Konami wanted to. Instead, the best way to really run that deck is playing stun with just a couple fusions used now and then. Whereas Gem Knights, they are about their fusions. The fusion plays are what make the deck win, and while their fusion monsters pale to elemental hero fusion monsters as far as effects go, their ability to bring up fusions while not completely killing yourself in advantage is pretty insane, especially with their fusion spell. The Gem Knight fusion is one of the best fusion spells in this entire game. So first up, we will go over the monsters. You begin with 3 copies of Gem Knight Garnet. He's a 1900 vanilla, and then you got 3 copies of Gem Knight Tourmaline. He's a 1600 1800 vanilla. And their main purpose is just to be fusion material. Although Garnet is a pretty beefy attacker, 1900 is still pretty good, and you can bring out a couple of them, but yeah, they're just used to help set up your fusion plays, because the fusion monsters utilize Garnet, Tourmaline, or a Pyro, or a lightning type monster. Then 3 copies of Gem Knight Obsidian. This is one of the major power plays of the deck. If he is sent from your hand to the graveyard by any means, you get to special summon 1 level 4 or lower normal type monster from your graveyard to the field. And this includes Gem Knight monsters, because they are normals in the graveyard. I don't know how many times people keep saying, why do you keep bringing back Sanix or blah 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 when he sent them? It's because they're normals in the grave. But yeah, Obsidian's nice because he combos with the fusion spell. You fuse him with either of these guys to get out a fusion monster, and then you revive the guy you fused with Obsidian, and then you remove Obsidian to get fusion back to your hand, and you end up losing no advantage, and you are just getting in there. 3 copies of Gem Armadillo. He's an elemental hero Stratos for Gem Knights, and you get to run 3 of them. Yes, his effect only works when he's normal summon and he's 1700 attack, but you get 3 copies of Stratos for your deck. I mean, Stratos is limited to 1 for all the broken shenanigans that he can bring out. Gem Armadillo is almost as good as Stratos, and your main goal is to get this to your hand so you can discard it for fusion. The card's so good. 1 copy of Gem Turtle. He's a flip monster. When he's flipped, you get his effect. You get to search 1 Gem Knight fusion from your deck to your hand, and he's at 2000 defense wall. Then, as far as fusion materials go, I'm running 3 copies of Thunder Dragon. Yes, Proxy. I don't have a 3rd one for the life of me. I've looked all over, so sad. But yeah, one of the fusions is a Gem Knight monster plus a Thunder type monster, so Thunder Dragon fills that role. He searches out 2 copies for himself, which helps make up again for the loss and advantage that comes with playing a fusion spell, and it just allows you to do all kinds of stupid shit. 3 copies of Volcanic Shell. This is also one of the most powerful cards in the deck. One of the fusions is a Gem Knight plus a Pyro, so you fuse this with the Gem Knight, and then you pay 500 to get another one, and you just fuse again, and he's a very fine target to use for future fusion. Very, very good card. 2 tech copies of Rescue Rabbit. What can I say about this card? I mean, it's stupid good. I'm not running 3 because I only have 2, and I'm not going to go to the trouble of getting a 3rd one when he's very likely to get semied or even limited in the first place. I don't see this thing staying at 3 after the ban list, but anyway. Rabbit obviously has the typical play of summon it, you bring out 2 vanillas, you make a rank 4, and just go from there. But he also does a lot more for this deck. He helps facilitate OTKs and all kind of stuff, because if you banish it and then you get out your 2 vanillas, and you have good fusion materials in your hand, i.e. shells, thunder dragons, or Gemnite Obsidian, you can put out multiple fusion monsters and proceed to do a massive chunk of damage, or even kill your opponent depending on what else you've got in your hand. And that's all off of 1 Rescue Rabbit. So this is one of those decks that benefits greatly from Rescue Rabbit in ways other than your typical herder rank 4 plays. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff I think they really want a Rabbit to be used for. Being able to bring out your 2 Garnets, and if you have 2 Obsidian in your hand and a Gemnite Fusion, good lord, the plays that are going to happen. Next, because I'm running the Rabbit engine, I'm also running the Tour Guide engine, plus she basically makes this different dimension reincarnation useless. Just use Levier to bring back Rabbit or any of your banished Gemnites. Good stuff. 2 copies of Effect Mailer and 1 copy of Gores for defense. Not much else to say about them, so that is the monster lineup. Now for the spells. 3 copies of the Heart and Soul deck, Gemnite Fusion. First, I'll make the obvious joke. Why would you Solemn Warning Gemnite Fusion? Oh, blah blah blah. Gemnite Fusion. You can use it's a polymerization for Gemnites, and when it's in your graveyard, you can remove a Gemnite from the grave to put it back into your hand. So, yeah, he kind of like this card is a great part of why this deck doesn't really minus when Fusion summons. Because if you have Gemnite Fusion and Obsidian in your hand, then you're going to be fusing Obsidian plus Tourmaline to get out Prismora, and then you banish Obsidian to get Gemnite Fusion back to your hand, and then you can like pitch it for effects. The fact that Gemnite Fusion just recycles itself over and over again makes it so good with discard effects. Raigeki Break, Phoenix Wing, Wing Blast, Divine Wrath, Summoner Monk. This card is just absolutely amazing. And while it's certainly not Miracle Fusion, it's a very close second. And yeah, if your opponent Solemn Warnings this or Solemn Judgments it, you can just remove a Gemnite and put it back in your hand, and then they feel absolutely silly because you basically burned them for 2,000 damage. After that, you got your basic stuff, MST to clear away back row, card destruction because you're going to get those weird hands of monsters plus things that can't be used, and it also makes Gemnite Obsidian's effect go off. Dark Hole because I hear it's good. Future Fusion, this is a fusion deck, so this is obviously very useful. It's decks like this that I would love to see to stay around after the ban list, but I gotta be realistic, I don't know if it's gonna stick around. But yeah, your ideal summon would be Gemnite Citterine, that way you could put a Volcanic Shell in your graveyard and then you can pay 500, put 1 in your hand, and just kinda go from there. Future Fusion, if you play it, you don't automatically win like you do with other decks, but it does help. Then I got Heavy Storm, Monster Reborn, 1 pot of Stupid, because you can fill up your graveyard very fast. It can help you reuse Rabbit, reuse Volcanic Shell and Thunder Dragon and that kind of stuff. And then 1 copy of Return from a Different Dimension, because you banish so much stuff in order to get your Gemnite Fusions back to your hand. You can even do crazy plays such as remove your fusion monsters after you use them for fusion summoning, and then just flip up Return for a gigantic play. If you watch Dual Logs videos, you probably saw it off of his Gemnite style video, which was absolutely amazing. So that's it for the main deck. Now for the extra deck, and this is where things get pretty fun. I am running 3 copies of Gemnite Prismora. He is a Gemnite monster plus 1 Thunder type monster, so Thunder Dragon or even Thunder King Rayo. Must be fusion summoned first. After that, you can revive him as many times as you want. He's not as Nomi, like cannot be special summoned by other ways. Let's get that out of the way. His effect is, once per turn, you can discard 1 Gemnite card to target 1 face-up card on your opponent's side of the field and destroy it. Doesn't have to be just a Gemnite monster. No, you can pitch this to destroy cards, and then you can remove a Gemnite monster to get this back to your hand. That's pretty good. The only sad thing about him is his attack. He's 2450, so yeah, he can't really like beat over a lot of things in battle, so you'll be using this to pop monsters most of the time. But still, he's a very good card. And then 3 Gemini Citrine, the anti-sack monster as I like to call him, because when this card attacks, no bullshit can happen. When Gemini Citrine battles, your opponent cannot activate any effects until after the damage step, and once damage calculation is all said and done with, it's too late for them to do anything. So when he attacks, your opponent cannot Gores, they cannot Sangan, they cannot Raikou, they cannot Mass Dragon, they can't use Lance, they can't use D-Prison. The only way they're going to get this thing off the field is either through battle or in main phase 1 or 2. So Gemini Citrine is a very, very good card. His attack is terrible, I'll say that. 2200 means that you need to get 3 of these plus another decent sized monster in order to OTK your opponent. But still, basically he'll shut down a lot of decks' ability to respond to your attacks because they can't do anything. Being able to go, lol, no prison for you, is pretty fun against Glad Beasts. 1 copy of Gemini Ruby, he's Gemini Garnet plus 1 Gemini monster. He's a 2500 trample, and once per turn you contribute 1 gem monster in order to have him gain that monster's attack until the end phase. So he can get pretty big and get over large monsters. 1 copy of Gemini Topaz, he's a double attacker with 1800 attack. When he destroys a monster at battle, and since it's the graveyard, you can inflict damage equal to its attack. So while it is low, he does hit for 3600 damage against an open field, and that can win games. Plus he makes really good work of battle floaters such as Mass Dragon. Yes, I know, I keep mentioning him, it's just, he's the floater, he's the recruiter I just happen to know best. Then 1 copy of Gemini Pearl, ooh, it's secret. And it's also a Gemnite, so you can remove it when it's dead. Yup. After that, you got your basic rank 4s. These, I feel, are the 4 best rank 4s in the entire game right now. And him mainly because it's Chaos Dragon and Hieratics. And then my rank 3s. Long video, I know, but I kind of get like that when I'm talking about Gemnites because they're a really fun deck. It's one of my favorite of the dual terminal archetypes that have come out. There's also Gishki, but I don't have all the cards I need to build like a good pure Gishki deck or even a Gishki Hieratic deck. But needless to say, I will be going back to this deck several times over the course of the future. How it's going to run depends on if Rescue Rabbit gets limited or not, or if it just simply goes to semi. If it goes to semi, then I'm perfectly fine. But if it gets limited, then I'm going to have to make some adjustments. And then there's the matter of Future Fusion getting hit or not. I've played this deck without Future Fusion before, so I'm not going to be too butthurt, but it's still a very good card in here. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care.